let's discuss issues that were mentioned and discussed during this presidential debate. There were so many actual issues discussed, and it is such a relief, Lewis, that unlike in the Republican debate, we actually have stuff to talk about. I want to start with gun control, which is a top issue right now. Particularly in the wake of mass gun violence that continues to happen. Bernie Sanders made it clear that he has and continues to support a ban on assault weapons. He wants to close the gun show loophole. He wants more extensive background checks, and he does not want to shield gun companies from lawsuits after shootings. But he explained that infamous vote years ago by saying that gun shops, individual gun shops, which legally sell a gun to someone that later is used in a crime, should not be held liable. And that's actually a pretty reasonable position. Agree or disagree with whatever gun policies are in place, if an individual gun shop is selling a gun to a legal purchaser, I agree with Bernie Sanders that attacking that small business is not the solution to the gun violence problem.
With a lot of political issues, we could look at it this way, right? I mean, are you going to look at, I don't know, a billionaire or some company that pays nothing in taxes and say, how dare you? Well, no, we would if we were in their position too, because the system has allowed it. And so, it doesn't really make sense to sue a gun shop in that way.
Hillary Clinton said that Bernie Sanders is not tough enough on guns, that we need to stand up against the NRA. But when she actually listed her policies, they were essentially identical to Bernie Sanders. And that was a theme in this debate. But Hillary Clinton using language to suggest that she has a different view than Bernie, when in reality she has the same view as Bernie. Martin O'Malley accused Bernie Sanders of pandering to the NRA, no real evidence that he has done that. And it was kind of funny that people were sort of bragging about how low their ratings were from the NRA. It's kind of like an anti-endorsement. How much does the NRA dislike me? So that was on gun control. Russia, Syria, and foreign policy. Hillary Clinton said it's time to stand up to Putin's bullying in Syria, and that we have to tell the Russians they need to help end this conflict, not escalate it by going after Putin's, rather Bashar al-Assad's opposition, which is what it seems that Vladimir Putin is doing. Bernie Sanders said this is a quagmire in a quagmire. That's a quote from Bernie Sanders on this issue. And he said that there's no clear plan here. Fighting ISIS while trying to overthrow Assad, this doesn't really make sense, and being very clear that the U.S. will not get involved other than in helping to put together a coalition. That transitioned into Hillary Clinton's vote in favor of letting President Bush take the U.S. to war in Iraq. And this continues to come up, Lewis, for Hillary Clinton. She has been successfully redirecting without really addressing that she did have the same intelligence Bernie had when he opposed the conflict in Iraq, but it keeps coming up in a number of the candidates, Lewis, pointing out to Hillary Clinton where she was on that vote. And I don't think she's good at deflecting, but she's not had any kind of real good explanation.
No, I mean, generally, her I wouldn't say foreign policy. I mean, basically, when it comes to U.S. intervention and violence and aggressive action, that was brought into question, and I think that's important. And it seems like she probably is, strangely enough, the most militaristic of the candidates.
Other than Jim Webb, probably, who at one point kind of laughed about the guy he killed in Vietnam.
Yes, that was an odd situation. But yes, perhaps Jim is up there with her, but I think that she's wrong on a lot of these issues.
Bernie, lastly, given the opportunity to say, when would you use military force? You seem to always be against it. And he said, well, I voted in favor of holding Osama bin Laden accountable in Afghanistan. I voted to go into Kosovo and stop the ethnic cleansing. When our country or allies are directly threatened, he supports coalition action, not unilateral. So that was interesting as well. Who's the biggest national security threat? Threat to the U.S.'s national security. This was a pretty quick one, and it's interesting, and we'll sort of append it to the foreign policy discussion. Martin O'Malley said it's a nuclear Iran. Hillary Clinton said nuclear materials and weapons in the wrong hands. Bernie Sanders actually went in the direction of saying climate change is the biggest national security threat. Jim Webb said China, cyber warfare against the U.S., and the military situation in the Middle East. And I actually missed what Lincoln Chafee said. I was busy making notes. So kind of an interesting little question to see what the top issue is. I don't know that we gathered that much about it other than Bernie Sanders taking a different approach to what we normally hear, which is a military concern. He's going in the climate change direction as national security, and Jim Webb just seemingly obsessed with China.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of cyber attacks happening from China. I don't know if that's the biggest threat to us as a country and as people, but Bernie is right. Climate change is a huge issue, and I just don't think there's probably no other candidate, Republican, of course not Republican, or Democratic, who will even enter the race in the future, who would ever say anything like that, and Bernie will.
Right, absolutely.